So we need to log in from excuse me, AWS, and I'll just go to the AWS link and then let you know. So first of all, we have already discussed about the AWS cloud as it's the top CSP or cloud service provider, CSP, cloud service provider, and that it has the as we can say architecture and hierarchy of regions first of all, and then there are availability zones, and then there is data centers, right? So if we remember from our if I have copied those diagrams there, I think I'll have to just a refresher of AWS that it is AWS infrastructure. We go a bit faster here, and then we'll go ahead with the login. So it has overall, when you go for global infrastructure, so offering over 200 fully featured services. So 200 plus services are there. Now what are those services? I'm gonna show you that, and we're gonna talk about that. But it says here 24 launched regions across the planet. I hope they are showing a map. Yeah, so 24 regions. Now if you compare with the cloud, Microsoft Azure, which is the second best cloud service provider on the planet, so Microsoft has actually 57 regions, while compared to AWS having 24 regions. So why Microsoft is still on second best list here? So it's not just that how many regions you have, and how many availability zones you have, and how many data centers you have, but it's all about also what is the market share you have. And if you go to the Magic Quadrant for cloud infrastructure and platform services, so when you see the leaders, it's still the Amazon Web Services. Microsoft is, in fact, there's a gap there between them. So it depends on market share, obviously, and you would see big enterprises and governments trusting more AWS than Microsoft Azure. And second thing is how much earning it is doing. Microsoft has other means of earning as well. Office 365 is the top earner there, and also Azure. So but AWS has just the cloud itself. Actually Amazon has their own other earning, the Amazon website. But the thing is that it's still the services are better. There is less downtime per year for Amazon, and the services are, as we can say the word, more mature. So you have Amazon Web Services, you can create virtual machine there, and you have Microsoft Azure, you can create virtual machines there. You can create databases here, networking here, storage here, databases, networking, storage. So overall, how much is the price for the services? How what was the downtime for those services in the last few years, and how advanced are the services of virtual machine? What do you offer in virtual machine? What do you offer in storage? What do you offer in networking and databases? So when it comes down to all that, so having 57 regions is not enough. You have to provide quality, you have to provide lesser downtime, and you have to provide more in-depth services, more stability. So that all counts for companies who are trusting their data centers, Amazon's data centers and Microsoft data centers, to put their most critical work. Some companies would put their virtual machines or put their critical data in trusting Amazon and Microsoft and Google Cloud, right? So they have to be offering state-of-the-art services, state-of-the-art security as well, and scalability. The company all of a sudden got a very big project and is hiring 50,000 more employees across the globe. So can Amazon really expand that far? That you have 50,000 employees, so this means that there would be a lot of applications, a lot of licenses coming. So can you expand that much? Maybe there are 2 million people connecting to some service that the company is offering on top of, well, we can say Netflix, and it's Amazon based, right? AWS. So millions of people connect to that, and we don't see any downtime there, or we don't see lag in there. So that's this just a quality, one example of a quality. Okay, Paul says, does Kubernetes make cloud infrastructure, cloud platform agnostic? Therefore, companies do not have to worry about a vendor lock-in. Well, Kubernetes was actually developed by Google Cloud, this guy, while adopted by everyone. So AWS also offers Kubernetes. Kubernetes has to be deployed somewhere for it to run, right? So either you could use Kubernetes on top of AWS or on top of Microsoft Azure or on top of Google. But when it comes to Kubernetes, Google is the developer of that. So Google is actually preferred for programmers, and especially not only programmers, but those who want to run containers in thousands and they want to go for Kubernetes. So best choice would be Google, but Kubernetes has to be deployed somewhere, so it cannot be vendor agnostic. You have to use underlying hardware of some company. So that's where, but yes, who developed it and who adopted it, that would make a very big difference. That for Kubernetes and containers, that's why Google Cloud certification in 2020 was the top demanded certification in the industry, IT industry. And because the trend is we're going towards containerization and Kubernetes. So that's why all of a sudden Google Cloud is really important now. So yes, so the Paul is saying Kubernetes is managed by the Linux Foundation, just like the Linux kernel. Yes, but where would you put that? It's ultimately it's a software. It's an application, right? You have to deploy it somewhere. If VMware also offers Kubernetes, so VMware says that okay, in our platform, you can just host Kubernetes as well, and but you have to deploy VMware on either your own hardware or you have to deploy it on top of somebody else's hardware. So it cannot be cloud agnostic when it comes to that. Yes, Kubernetes, some company can come up with Kubernetes. Okay, you don't worry about what's underlying. Just pay us this much per month, and you don't have to worry about which cloud we are using as a company. You just have to worry about if Kubernetes is working fine or not. Yes, that could be possibility, but companies would go for Google or AWS or Microsoft because they have their other workload there as well. They are using the SaaS services of Microsoft. Then they would want this vendor to control their containerization as well, or if they have SaaS services from Google. So that would be one of the considerations as well, that companies have other services they're using. So why not Kubernetes as well? But Kubernetes has to be deployed somewhere. Yes, if you go to third-party company, yes, they might say that whether we use AWS, whether we use Azure or Google Cloud in the background, or we have our own data centers, that is not the worry of the client. So yeah, we can go to that company, but I would rather, if I was the cloud resource, I would rather let the company recommend the company to go to those who actually came up with this Kubernetes and containerization, or those who are the best in the market for containerization. So Google is the heaven for developers already for last 1 decade. Okay, so Paul says, do you have any experience with Kubernetes? My capstone project uses it, and I need a second opinion on some design decisions. Well, on the design level, I'm about the full cloud services as a whole, but I have I don't have experience specifically on Kubernetes. I'm sorry about that. I'll try to get my friends involved if you want. I'll try to ask if any one of those who I think are SMEs on this to get to answer your queries. I'll ask them. You can send me the query. I'll forward it to them if you want that way. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Anyone from George Brown that has experience with Kubernetes? George Brown. You could ask those. I'll ask Jackie. He's my resource. Otherwise, those who are teaching, software development, they would definitely be the ones to contact. And if they're teaching software development, they will have to work on containerization. It's not compulsory, but if they're working on containerization, so I have to search in George Brown. I'll ask Jackie, which is your resource as well. Yeah, sure. Email me questions and I'll send it to those I think they do know much more about containerization and Kubernetes. Sure. Also, who is the liaison between George Brown and VMware? I'm using Valero and Octant VMware tools. Whew. Guys, did you go for the virtualization course? That teacher is the only, I think that's the only contact of VMware in George Brown. I heard about that teacher, but I do teach VMware in some other college, and these are the tools. Normally, I just go for VCP certification and stick to all the topics of that. But you're talking about Valero and Octant VMware tools. Wow, I think that you're still talking about development. So, as far as I'm concerned, I'm not really into development. I'm more system administration and application. But in George Brown, if you have done that course of virtualization, that teacher, that professor is the one who is George Brown's contact with VMware. Alright guys, so here we were talking about that having more data centers might not be a thing to be on the top in the market for cloud service providing CSPs, right? So it's about as we just mentioned that AWS is spread across 245 countries and territories, and they are adding more regions there. When I'm talking about regions, just refresher on that. The region would be a large physical area, like suppose the size of Ontario, or the size half of Ontario could be considered one region. And within the regions, you would have then availability zones, which would be smaller, isolated collection of data centers there, right? So if I go for a quick one, so suppose this is the region, and on top of region, you would have top would be the region itself, which would be a big physical area. Then there would be availability zones, AZ1, AZ2, availability zone 2, and AZ suppose 3, right? So and then under the AZs you will have DC data centers. So one AZ could have 2 to 8 data centers. Data center 1, data center 2, data center 3 here, right? And these data center would be few kilometers to few hundred kilometers apart. Not 100, but still not hundreds we can say. But they should be near enough to have replication services for anyone's data or virtual machines going on without latency, right? So it would be very least amount of latency that they could have. So one availability zone could be suppose GTA, Greater Toronto Area. One data center could be suppose in Mississauga, one data center in Vaughan, one data center in Toronto, one in Ajax. So it could be that nearby the data centers would be. Why? Because you create a virtual machine on one data center, you would want to have its replication partner nearby to another data center. So obviously that's how all cloud providers have configured it. Region, availability zone. So one region could have 2 to 6 availability zones. One region could have 2 to 6 availability zones, and one availability zone can have 2 to 8 data centers. And each data center can have up to 300,000 servers, right? Those are physical machines. 300,000 from 100,000 up to, it could be a smaller data center which could have 100,000 physical servers up to 300,000 physical servers, right? So that could be blade servers, that could be rack servers, but that's how huge one data center would be. And then one availability zone can have 2 to 8 data centers, and one region can have 2 to 6 availability zones. So it becomes big, and then we already understand that there are 24 regions here, while Microsoft has 57 regions. But yeah, they're more. They have more regions, but they have to do a lot more to get the bigger share of the market. Okay, so that said, and some refresher on regions, availability zones, and data centers. AWS now spans 77 availability zones within 24 geographic regions around the world, and has announced plans for 18 more availability zones and 6 more regions in Australia, India, Indonesia, Japan, Spain, Switzerland, right? So they are expanding fast. Obviously, it's a fierce war. Oracle Cloud has also jumped in. Alibaba Cloud from China is already expanding a lot. And then there are many other cloud providers who are really expanding. So it's going to be the decade of the cloud. It's going to be very, very cloudy throughout this decade, right? Wow. Okay, anyway, so let's get going to our AWS topic. Now, we could have added Microsoft Azure as well, but AWS is the top, and always learn from the the best of whatever they are best in. So AWS is best in the cloud services. Then the second best would be Microsoft Azure, obviously, and Microsoft is best in Office 365 or collaboration services. Second best is G Suite, right? So different services, and VMware is best in local virtualization, data center virtualization, on premises. Microsoft is the second best there as well. So the thing is that, and yeah, the final would be the Kubernetes and development tools. Google Cloud is the best in that. So go for the best, whoever is the best, who has started these services, to really learn why they are the leaders. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and log into AWS. So how do we log in? I'm just gonna show you now, and so first, I'm gonna log in, and then I'll just let you log in as well. So I'm just now, the URL that I'm taking, you can't take that URL, or even if you try, you won't be able to. And AWS has actually changed the way they are offering their services, education services to colleges. Last year it was much smoother. We had a their third party client, which was Vocarium or Vocarium, and we used to go to their labs, and we used to do all the labs. Then this year, out of nowhere, they said that, okay, I need to just create an account here, and I need to create all the users, and then they will all log in there. So that's what then I am doing. So I'm first logged in here with this URL, but obviously this is not the URL that you will be logging in from. I'm gonna tell you how to log in, right? Okay, Jacob says, should we log into AWS on our virtual machines or physical machines? Yeah, so this is totally Cloud Lab. So you can log in from your physical machines, directly from your browser on your laptops or desktops. So logging in from virtual machines might actually be much slower, so it's better to go for the browser directly from your laptop or desktop. I'll be providing you the link, but first let me introduce the the whole interface here. And so when we log in, this is the console that we see here. And second thing is, on the top right you will see your ID. Well, real soon I'll be letting you in, and I'll tell you how to go in actually. But on the top right you will see your ID there when you log in. On the right, further right side, you see North Virginia, right? So some of you, when you log in, you will see Ohio there, and some of you who log in will see North Virginia. So if I drop down this, so you can see all the regions that AWS has are lined up here. So we can connect to a, well, this is trial version obviously, so you won't have that much flexibility in connecting to any region. So suppose you have your head office is in North Virginia, you're connecting to that, or this is the nearest region to you and you're connecting to that, suppose, and your clients are actually in Singapore and they have invested heavily in your products, whatever your company sells, and suppose you want whatever documentation you're providing, or whatever software that you're providing to download to your clients, you would want to upload here the documents, and you would want that to, suppose, be copied automatically to the Singapore region, because your clients who are in Singapore, they should not be directly connecting from Singapore to North Virginia data centers. They should be connecting to their nearest data center. So one of the reasons that you would go for another region to create some resources like virtual machines or storage or networking or databases or any other service, one of the reasons would be that you have clients in that region and they should be connecting to their nearest data centers, right? So that's why you would go for any other region. Other thing is you want to just simply make a copy of your critical documentation in another region as well. Suppose there's a region-wide outage. If the whole North Virginia region for some reason is experiencing an outage, degradation of services, if you have arranged a synchronization of your critical documentation in US West 1, US West 2, which is North California and Oregon, or US East 1, US East 2. So there are 2 regions in East, 2 regions in West, and you want to make a copy, you can go across the whole continent, well, right, to the other side. From East Coast you're uploading data and West Coast is saving data. You can do that too, or just save data in some European region or Asia Pacific region, Asia Pacific or European region. So it's up to you whether you have clients in that region or you want to just copy your data as a backup somewhere else. So then you would go for any other region. Otherwise you would be connecting to your nearest region. Now, isn't Canada Central nearest to us, or nearer to us than the North Virginia? So obviously Canada Central, now those companies, Canadian companies who have a compliance policy that our data cannot leave our country, then yes, you have to create all your virtual machines, your storage, your networking, your databases in Canada Central. But if that's not an issue, or the compliance policy says US and Canada, wherever we can save data, that's our compliance policy. So in that case, we would connect to, or the east side of the companies in Canada and US, well, in Canada, can connect to North Virginia. Why? Because North Virginia has 6 availability zones, which is the most availability zones for any region in AWS. And second thing is, North Virginia, I've been teaching that for some time now. So North Virginia has the most advanced features available by AWS. Suppose you go to Ohio region, suppose I still connect to North Virginia region and I say, okay, let's create virtual machine, or let's go for some advanced features of some service, and some students connect to Ohio following me, while I'm connected to North Virginia, some students are connected to Ohio. So it happened multiple times in different classes that when I went for real in-depth with all the services, students were not able to see that some of the few of the advanced services in Ohio region. Then also we discovered that, oh man, so North Virginia has the most whatever new updates are coming, because it's near the business hub, it's near Washington DC, and it's near New York. That's the big business hub on the East Coast. So it has 6 availability zones. That's a lot, and then it has the most advanced services. So I always connect to North Virginia because we are in the East Coast. So you could also get connected to Ohio because it's also near. In case, suppose when you log in and it actually shows you Ohio like this. So simply you want to change the region, you can just click here and connect to, or click North Virginia. So these are all the regions, and we talked about that. Why would you choose a region? And that is if your client is there, or if you want to just put a backup there, then you would change a region. Otherwise, you connect to the nearest region, and also that within the country, if you want to remain, then yes, Canada Central. But Canada Central also does not have all the advanced features that North Virginia region has. So, and that's something. That's why my recommendation and what we will be doing is connecting to North Virginia region. That's one thing about the regions here. And if you see global written here, right? So I'm seeing North Virginia right now. So any North Virginia region specific services you want to create. Suppose you want to create virtual machines in North Virginia region. Yes, you can. But suppose I go to support, right? There's a support here. If I enter the support center, this is globally available to everyone. You're in Europe and you're connecting to some European region. You're in Asia Pacific. You're connected to Singapore or some other region. So this support center is global for everyone. It's not region specific. So if I click that support center, I have clicked it now, and you can see that it changed to global. So whenever you see global on the top right, that means this service is not region specific. It is simply globally available to everyone, right? So when you see global, it's okay. It's just, well, no, now there is IAM, Identity and Access. Well, there will be a service that we will be using now, and that is to create users, to create groups, to create policies, to create roles. But you will see that it's also going to be global. When we later go for virtual machines, you will see then we will be able to select the region and storage and networking. So we will be able to select a region in that case, but some services are global. So that's another point, right? And in the support center, if I click the support center here, so there is obviously they're not going to give us for trial version a lot of support there, but this is how we can create a case here. And when we click the create case, then we can go for account and billing, because that's the only one that's supported. And in that, suppose there's a billing issue, so we can go to billing and then category, charge inquiry, and dispute a charge or free tier related questions. So we can ask here and charge inquiry, and then you can just give a brief that, hey, I was charged for something that I was just testing, why is that, and etc, 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 right? So that's the support side of it. And this is where we choose the region. This is where we have Georgetown College. So this is obviously my user account here, but you will see your ID real soon. But this is my account. Now this is also the area where we can delete the account. My organization will be talking about that later. If you have multiple, in fact, if you have multiple AWS accounts, then you can, under my organization, you can consolidate them all and centrally maintain them. My service quota, so what you can use, suppose how many virtual machines you're allowed to create, how many virtual machines, how many users you can create, how many groups you can create, so that's in service quota. My billing dashboard, this is the area, if I click that, my billing dashboard, obviously that would be your favorite area to go to regularly and check it out, that how much billing, how much charges have been put there. So normally AWS is pretty specific and tells you exactly which service you were using at what time and what are the charges there. You can go in details and check it out. You can also go for Cost Explorer there and explore that per month. Suppose I want to run 20 virtual machines, suppose, and I want to have uploaded 1 terabyte of files, and I want to have created 3 VPCs, which is virtual private cloud or your private LAN local area network on top of the public cloud. So how much will it cost me if I create that for per hour and per month? How will it cost me? So you can go through Cost Explorer and check it out. Now that said, I'll just go ahead and try to security credentials, this is just to change the password and sign out. Okay, so this is on the right side. You can see your ID will be showing there when you log in, and the region would be either Ohio or North Virginia, and if you go to support, it's going to be global. On the left side, this is where you will see 200 plus services for which AWS is the top CSP or cloud service provider. So if I click that services here, so that's all the services that are available, and you can just really choose any of those services and start paying monthly or per hour on demand. You start using that. So in all services, what we see here is compute as a category, storage category, database category, migration and transfer, networking and content delivery, developer tools, robotics, and customer enablement, blockchain, satellite, quantum technologies, management. So it goes on and on, right? All the categories that are there. What we are using is, or I'm trying to plan for covering the topics of AWS Solutions Architect Associate certification, which is pretty in demand in the market, right? So we're going to go for compute, which is your virtual machines. We're going to go for storage, where you can upload files and folders, and then we're going to go for we're going to create database here as well directly, and then we're going to talk about some of the topics of migration and transfer. We're going to do labs on networking and content delivery. So the rest are developer tools. There's robotics as well, that you can create code, build code there. Satellite, blockchain you can go for cryptocurrency. In fact, nowadays it's like what, $45,000 one Bitcoin, and other currencies are also really gaining momentum as well. So now is a good time to go for understanding blockchain and cryptocurrency a bit more deeper. Well, it would have been a better time before, but it's still not too late. And satellite, normally this is a service that anyone wants to actually use AWS's satellite services, or if AWS hasn't sent their satellites, then they would be connected to some other satellites. They would have rented it, and whoever wants to run their services through satellite, maybe production house or something, they want to just share files with some other far off regions of the planet where internet is not there. They can use that from AWS as well. Quantum technologies, again, fast computing, ultra fast computing, that is, management and governance. So that's one of those topics that we're going to go for. Other than the security, identity, and compliance, there are some topics there and some topics here in management and governance. So overall, we're going to talk about some introduction to these services as well. Now, what we need to start with is a service called IAM. So if I go down to the category security, identity, and compliance, under that is IAM, which is identity and access management. So pretty much you can create, just like you have Active Directory from Microsoft, or Azure Active Directory in cloud. So the IAM is here in Azure, where you can just create users, groups, policies, permissions, roles, etc. All those things, right? So obviously we all start from IAM, or identity and access management, first, and then we go ahead with anything else. So I'm going to enter IAM here. Either you can just select IAM by searching for categories in this area, or there's a search window here, and if in the search window I can type here IAM, so it also just gets me this IAM, right? So I'm going to click that IAM, identity and access management. That's the first thing. And second thing is that there's a dashboard here, and I'm going to go to users, right? And I will be providing those users with so these are your IDs that are already there, right? And what I would want to do is that I can just simply go for the ID and the password. So let me just quickly open that one document here, and I'll just provide you with your username and your temporary password, which you will be logging in from as soon as so on my other screen I have opened my documents and type. So just give me a sec, guys. That document is downloads and file is the credentials. Okay, I'll just open one file here. Yikes. And I will. Okay, so. Okay, so that's yeah. Let me just export the users quickly and get your. Oh, yes. Okay, so let me just quickly get the users. So now, guys, some of you might be seeing your IDs there as well, and it's better to actually. I'll be creating 10 users, right? So I'm gonna click add user here, right? And you can put how you can put your ID. See this? Your college ID dash name, right? So it's something something and dash name. So you can put that there on the chat, and I'll start creating your users right away, and you will get your passwords right away, right? So for that, go for this your college name ID, and please put it on chat, on WhatsApp chat there. Okay, there you go. Hamid is there, and I'll grab who's the first one. So it's gonna create 10 users in one session. And the best thing is obviously if we create now and you confirm now, so throughout the course we won't have any issues. Amir, and that's the second user. So 10 users at a time, and then we will go for Eric. Okay. Add another. Keith. Guys, do not just make sure that your ID is correct and no number mismatch there. Okay, Jericho, Brady, Nirvana, Gideon. So it's gonna take 10 at one time. No space. Jacob. Colin. Okay, so 10 because I cannot click furthermore, so it's just 10 users getting created. So the rest, please do type it, and I'll be starting from after Khalid, so I'll be starting from Minsiok there. So, but guys, before I create rest of the users, please also try understand what is the process of creating a user in AWS and what kind of questions it asks, what kind of features it offers. So the rest of the users I will be creating, don't worry. but at one session it takes 10 only, right? Then the next 10, then the or whatever whoever's remaining, right? So see this, when I create any number of users, so at the bottom it shows programmatic access and AWS Management Console access. So what are those? So there's programmatic access means that through an application or a program or a software, you can connect to AWS. So are you allowed programmatic access? Guys, are you hearing echo? No? Who's Mawereheni? Mawerehene. Yeah, that's I'm seeing a new name here. Mawereheni. So Mawereheni, can you just identify yourself, your ID? Mawerehene. Well, after a while I have to then remove this ID if I don't recognize. Please just put your ID there. College ID. Mawerehene. Mawerehene. How you want to spell it? Mawerehene. Is that someone, some student of ours who have put? Okay. After a little while, I will have to remove you. Maybe you're not listening at all. So, okay, guys. Anyway, what we were talking about here. Yeah. So programmatic access, and it's just that through a Visual Studio, through AWS API, CLI, from command line you want to connect to the AWS, from software development kit, SDK you want to connect, or some development tools, Visual Studio, something like that, you want to connect to AWS, then you will get programmatic access. And what is AWS console? AWS Management Console means that, well, the way I'm logging in from a browser to the AWS console, so this is the type of access. Some people want to connect from a software development kit, or some development tools from that software they want to connect to AWS, then they don't need actually a direct browser-based access to the AWS console. Then in that case, you can also check it out. Okay, so Amir says, what is the difference between Cognito users and Iam users? Where is it written? Where are you reading that Cognito users? Amir, where are you reading this? Did you read it on this page? There's a Cognito users, or just came up with that question? Wow, who's Dick? Hey, Dick. Guys, there are new names coming here, so I just need to know who is it before I have to kick you out. Mawerehene, who are you? And TIK Dick, who are you? Please put in the chat. Okay, Cognito is another. Yeah, Cognito is actually a service here, and if I go duplicate, and if I go for Control F, Cognito. Do we have any service with that name? Not Cong. Cognito. Yeah. So that's security, identity, and compliance. And there is, so Amazon Cognito offers user pools and identity pools. User pools are user directories that provide sign up and sign in options for your app users. Suppose you're a developer. You created an app in cell phone it runs, or on browser it runs, and you want to create an authentication by defining pool. Suppose your app got viral and you have thousands of users there. So in that case, you would simply do some coding in the background for the app to be connected to Amazon Cognito. So Cognito would provide you the user and groups creation services for your app, as well as authentication services for your app. So you created a game that went viral, and there are millions of users now. So those users have to be saved somewhere, and those users have to be authenticated as well, authorized as well, and their different game level that they have reached should be stored somewhere. So basically this is user pools that you can attach to your machine, to your app that you've developed yourself. Entity pools provide AWS credentials to grant your users access. So it is just like a small active directory, you can say, for your app, where it can save the information of your users and authenticate them as well. So this what we are creating a user who can use AWS services, right? And this is just another service that is being offered to all the app developers. If you want the backend user being saved somewhere, and authentication of some type for your application, you can just connect to Amazon. So it's a service, and what we are doing is just creating a simple user to use any of the service. So if anyone wants to use Amazon Cognito, first that person's user has to be created here, right? And then be given access to this service or privilege to use this service later. So it's a service. Okay. Hopefully you got the answer, but if you have more questions, let me know. Okay guys, here 10 users I've placed here. You got Programmatic Access, and you got AWS Management Console Access as well. Second thing is so console password, and that is auto-generated password. I'm going to keep it to auto-generated password, and then I'm going to do one thing, and that would be I'll be pasting all the username passwords on chat, and you can quickly just change that, because it will make you change your passwords, right? So you will grab your ID, you will put your password quickly, and then you will all log in, right? And require password reset. So user must create a new password at next login. So I'm going to be giving you the temporary password. You can just use that, and then it will ask you to create a new password. Then you will create your new passwords, right? These 10 users, then the next 10, then the next 10, right? Okay, so this page, 10 users, and Programmatic Access, AWS Management, auto-generate password, and you must change the password when you first log in. So that has been set up. I'm going to click Next Permissions. And what kind of permissions should be given to you? So there are add users to a group, copy permissions from existing user, or attach existing policies directly. Okay. Okay, new names are popping up, and I hope you guys are students here. Yeah, full please. Oh, okay. Oh yeah, full administrative access, sure. Well, yeah, you can only get it's AWS education, so normally students don't get full permission. So the thing is that we will have enough permission to do some of the all of the labs, hopefully all of the labs. It's from AWS. Alright guys, so but I'm just explaining you what this portion is all about, that you can create a group, and then you can be provided access to that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click that group for Iam Full Access. So this means that within the IAM you have access to create anything, right? And this is the group I'm adding, but this group has been attached with a set of policy. So I'm going to show you that as well. So here I just attached 10 students to the group, right? Then I'm going to go here, attach policies. Whoa. Okay, so it says that if you have done the group, I'm going to uncheck that to go to attach policies, just to show you that these are the policies. How many? 657 policies. Okay, what is a policy? Policy is a collection of permissions. Policy is a collection of permissions. So administrator access is the top access there, and it's a collection of pretty much all permissions, and whoever is the administrator can do whatever he or she wants across AWS, right? So then there are Alexa, and these are all the services. If I keep going down, it just keeps on coming. For all the services, there are all types of policies there, or collection of permissions there, that you want to add someone for usage for the service of Elastic File System. So does he or she gets read-only access, does he or she gets full access, or any other type of access. So for each service there are different types of policies there. There are 200 plus services, and there are 600 policies, and each policy is a collection of services. If I go way up there, this is the first policy, administrator access. If I expand this, there's a small arrow here. If you expand that, so you first of all, it's in the JSON format that simply puts it effect allow action asterisk. So all kind of action is allowed on what resource? All resources. So this is all out access throughout AWS, right? So allow and all kinds of actions on all kinds of resources, which is pretty much every policy on AWS right now. So this is that. If I go to the policy summary, this is the JSON format. If I go to the policy summary here, then it starts showing all the policies. So if you get administrator access, this one, then what do you exactly get? Access manager full access, account full access, activate full access. So it's full access, full access, full access. If I keep going down, it's just pretty much full access to all the 200 plus services. Obviously, it's an administrator access, so administrator will have full access to everything, right? So that's the policy summary for this policy, administrator access. I'm going to just click that arrow and collapse this, and so other policies also just talk about whatever access they provide. So policy is a collection of permissions, right? We're going to be creating our separate custom policy as well later, so we will then realize that, oh, that's how we create. One more thing here, when we add user and when you log in, every step you take is audited, every click you make to anything else is audited, and also when you're given access, this is a new way AWS has created that. So if you click anything, you delete anything, it directly affects your marks as well. So whatever you do inside is being totally audited every step, and if there's a wrong step taken, or if you go against the rules here, so it directly connects to your marks as well. You will lose some marks for doing the wrong thing, which means that pretty much it's a kind of a free environment. Like there's a lot of things you can do, but whatever I'm requesting you to do, only do that and do not do anything else. We will do enough, but if your actions affect someone else, so obviously in the auditing report we will see that, and it affects the marks as well. Okay, so that was from the management. I was supposed to tell you. Okay, now we're not connecting. I'm not gonna connect any direct policy to you guys. I'm gonna go back to add users to a group, and there's a group called Iam Full Access. So this IAM service, you'll be given full access there, but you will do what I do, obviously, and just like the previous other batch did. And again, all the actions are being audited, and they directly relate to the marks as well. Do not share your password with anyone. Well, that goes for anything, right? Your Azure, for whatever you've been doing before. Okay, anyway, I'm just gonna give access to only IAM service group. I'm gonna click, now I'm gonna go for next, right? And I'm gonna click tags here. So in the tags, you can just put here, what is the tags used for? Just for extra information. Suppose branch is Toronto, and manager is Bob, or and whatever you want to put there. So department is sales. So this is what tags are used for, just to add some more information about the full wizard and whatever you're creating there. So I'm going to click next and review. So now 10 users are user accounts are getting created, and well, these are all the you can just change your password and you have access to IAM only. And I'm going to click create users now. Once the users are created, well, whenever they're created. Okay, so they're all created, and there's a user column, there's an access key ID, there's a secret access key. Access key ID and secret access key are both used together when you are connecting from within an application to AWS. So when you're connecting from application, it asks for access key ID and secret access key. So this is just a very good security measure by AWS. Hey, you want to connect from any application, from command line interface, you need to put this access key ID and secret access key both. And the password, that's just the temporary password, and you will be getting that temporary password here. And okay, so I'm gonna download this CSV file, and that is batch 1 COMP3108 Tuesday, winter 2021, GTA, Ontario, Canada, North America, Earth. Okay, so I'm just gonna save in documents. So guys, I'm gonna be so I have explained the process of user creation, which is kind of pretty straightforward. So I'm gonna click close here, and the 10 users got created. But now I'm gonna quickly create all the users. I'm gonna concentrate on creating all the users, and then I'll just start giving away the password in one go. So on username, I'm gonna go up there from Khalid. Okay, Mincio is there. Copy. Add another user. Cedric is there. Okay. Copy. Paul. Kingsley. Yusuf. And Harshan. Now I'm gonna go a bit fast. George Surfo. Okay, so George. Okay, well, this is how you're supposed to give me the name. Well, I'll try to. And well, that's it, right? So okay, I'll just go quickly here. Programmatic, AWS, auto-generated password, next permissions, and I'll go for Iam Full Access, tags, and yeah, so we've created those tags already. I'm not creating here. Just wanted to explain last time. Create users. Oh, okay, so I'll just, I've downloaded that. Did I? Hey, you didn't ask for name? modified. Really, what's the other one? Okay, so I did not download. Well, I'll download again, or maybe I did not actually. Yikes! Did modified, yeah, and that's batch 2. Okay, got it. Right. So guys, your user accounts are created, but how do you log in? So let me just explain now. I'm going to close this and see this. Okay, so batch 1, I'm just going to double click that and open it. Now, how do you log in? You can log in from this URL. You can only log in from this URL. So I'm going to copy this. You can only log into AWS from this URL. I'm just typing it there on the WhatsApp chat. Oh, did I say WhatsApp? No. WebEx chat, and I'm gonna put it on WhatsApp and also on OneNote. Okay, that's first thing. Second thing is that everyone now, guys, you keep an eye on your WebEx there, right? Because on so you're first just click on this link that I put on WebEx, WhatsApp, OneNote, and that's the first batch's username and password. And what you can do is, now this is not that easy to understand, so I'm just gonna put it on WebEx, right? You can quickly grab first batch, quickly grab your ID now. It's in WebEx now, so grab it and log in and then change your password, right? So that's the first batch, username, password, grab it. You have to go to that link where it is asking all this. Oh, okay, one more thing that it's gonna ask that I need to tell you is, when it asks for account, it is it is from here to here. Let me just put it here. Okay, so account equals this. This is that, and user equals college ID and PW, right? Provided. So this is the account. I'm just gonna put that information there as well. Guys, are you logging in? Did you see the account there? So this is the first batch. Any problem with the first batch? Hopefully you're logged in, and I can't see the link. Can you post it here? Yeah, the link is this one. It is in WhatsApp. It is here. It's in, well, I posted it everywhere. So I'm not in the WhatsApp group. So Khalid, can you see in the WebEx chat? Okay, let me show you the screen here, guys. If it is confusing, let me show you that screen. Oops. First of all, I'll connect. I'm just connecting to this, if it opens today. Okay, guys, you're seeing this, right? Oh, so it's account ID. What do you put in the account ID? See this? And where did I get it from? I got it from the URL that you just used now. This is a URL that you just used, right? To connect, basically. And the portion, this portion, is what this is. So the URL that you just got in WebEx, in OneNote, in WhatsApp. So first go to this URL, full URL, then simply copy this for the account ID. Let me just go to Alt Tab. See this account ID. I'm putting it like this. Then your ID, whatever your ID I just gave you, and whatever password I just gave you now. That's the first one, guys. Hamid. So see this, Hamid? That's your username here. Gideon. Okay. Guys, your username password was shared up there. Okay, I'll just share it again. I think there is the username password for the first batch, first 10. Did you all log in? I'm gonna then go for the second batch now. Anyone having issues in the first batch? Okay, Khalid says yes, Nirvana says yes, Gideon says no, Jericho Amir says where? Amir, welcome back. Me too. I need password. Okay, guys. Wow. Okay. I'm not. Guys, that chat. I just put that. I just put the password here on your chat. Okay. Stop typing, everyone, on the WebEx chat. See this. Are you seeing what I just typed now? Oh, in the WebEx chat. No? Okay. Sorry, guys. You know what happened? Khalid knows only. Khalid knows what happened. Sorry, guys. My bad. My bad. Everyone. I'm typing it again to everyone. You know what I did by mistake? You know, instead of everyone, Khalid was selected there. No, but that was my mistake. I did not send him personally. He and I are not best friends, but we will be. But that was by mistake. So yes, we are best friends. Exactly. You know. Okay. I just forgot. Sorry, guys. That everyone was not selected there in the chat. So everyone got it, right? I'm gonna just go for the second batch, but first batch is okay. Your authentication information is correct. Please try again. Okay, Gideon. It's all about copy pasting now. So check it out. So Gideon, you have to make sure this is correct first of all. Then put the username password again. Just try again. I mean, this is copy paste mistake because everyone else is done. So yeah, through Khalid, you want to increase numbers, right, Amir? Alright, guys, I'm gonna go for the second one now. Second batch. If first batch is good, then only second batch. I'm just gonna release that. If first batch has any issues, let me know. So second batch, double click, and hopefully, second batch you know what to do. But please ask me if there is some confusion. So login works fine for me. Okay, so guys, this is second batch, and let me check it's everyone selected. Yeah. Okay, so that's Minsyok, Citric, Paul, Kingsley, Yusuf, Harshan, George. You guys, I hope you're seeing your username password. And where do you want to go? Let me just so I put that URL already, but in case you want this again, this is the URL I just put there. Hopefully you guys understand what to do. And well, so this is the account ID, which is part of the URL. And account ID. I'm putting it there. Now, hopefully, you guys are okay and you were able to log in and change your password. And I'm not okay, sir. Okay, Gideon. User college ID with name. That's Harshan. Harshan, I'm just copying your username, password, and Gideon. Well, let me help you after these guys are done. And pretty much it's copy paste, but I'm not sure what's going on. Gideon, can you share your screenshots as well? So Harshan, are you on this page? And did you put the account ID like this? Then the username, password that I gave you. Keith says Keith is first batch, second batch. Oh, it's first batch. So Keith says mine don't work. I'm fine. Went in. Okay, Harshan is okay. This is incorrect. Okay, anyone else having issue? Gideon has shared the screenshot. Anyone else having? What is the account ID? Account ID is the part of the subscription, and it is this. I'm just gonna copy this for you. Part of the URL. So suppose you create a subscription. So this URL just shows that the employees need to connect to this company. This is their company's URL instead of going to the root. That would be root would be just for the account that created the subscription. All others will go through this account ID, which is a part of the URL, to identify their company or they're connecting to the correct subscription, AWS subscription. Okay. So Gideon shows this. Wednesday. Okay. Let me check it out. You got a screenshot of everyone else's username and password, not mine. Paul. Okay. Paul, your username is this. What? Okay, I got it. Keith says mine was home. Where to go, Keith? Okay, so this means Gideon. Gideon, let me grab your username, password. And copy paste that. So, oh, Gideon, you did not put the user correct. Your username is, okay, let me copy it here. Gideon, your username is this, not just your ID. Your username is full this. Yeah, like ID dash Gideon. That's your username, right? So your username and password is this, right? And Kingsley shows authentication is not good. College ID with name. Yeah. So username is this. Okay, Kingsley, you were in batch 2. Oh. What happened to his username? Kingsley's password, actually. Let me just go to that. Okay, guys, while this is going on, I'm going to resume now. And, okay, if in case I paused, so guys, I logged into this. We created a group here. And we went through create new group, and we went for your first name dash group, and then next step, and we typed EC2, and then we attached like this, and then we clicked next, and then we created a group. So I forgot to actually resume after the video, and I thought it was running, when I was doing some annotation. So we created a group. After that, we are just discussing the roles here, and the 4 scenarios that we discussed. I'll then have to arrange this whole discussion. I did that whole discussion in the other group video as well, so I'll make that video available for you to understand or to repeat this discussion and make your notes. So yes, it was actually not running, and I thought it was running. Yeah, that screenshot that the diagram that I created, I'll just quickly copy it here. But this is the same discussion I did with the other group, so I will just paste that video to you so you won't miss anything. And let me just and put it here. Okay, so let's go ahead and we were talking about roles. So I was thinking that why it is not going away from the screen. Okay, I'll just, yeah. So I'll go to yeah. So we're on the role. Let's click the create role, and everyone, let's click the create role. Once we click the create role, so you can just check now that there is select type of trusted entity. So the 4 scenarios we discussed. Other than that, like it's another AWS account or AWS service that wants to connect to another service. Then you want to create a role, or you're connecting through federation services. So then you want to create a role like on premises. Now this is another thing that's added here: web identity, Cognito, or any OpenID. When you talk about OpenID here, OpenID is supported by pretty much every other website. OpenID is supported by Salesforce.com. It is supported by well, pretty much every other site, Facebook and ServiceNow.com and whatever.com. So pretty much all the major sites they use OpenID. What is this used for? If you want to connect Facebook to AWS, if you want to connect Twitter, LinkedIn, Azure, G Suite, Google G Suite to AWS, then you can go through the process of OpenID Connect, where AWS provides you full documentation that how to connect to Google, how to connect to Azure, how to connect. When we connect, what are we achieving there? Why would you want to connect? So suppose there's Facebook that you're connecting to AWS. So with OpenID, when you connect, so it says there that, and that discussion actually is coming in Open Identity. That's another topic that is upcoming. Well, it's kind of same discussion now we're talking about here. If you want to connect Facebook to your AWS, what are you achieving here? What you're saying is, if you securely connect to Facebook, if it allows you to, then this means that it's going to, AWS will trust Facebook authentication. AWS will tell Facebook that, hey, your users can authenticate from you, and I will trust that, and I will not ask you to create your users here in AWS as well. If your users connect from your authentication and you authenticate them, I trust that after that they can come to me to AWS and create all the resources, right? So for that, obviously you need to first do the collaboration between the two sites. You have to go through that security certificate and connecting with each other, and then you can let the other site's users get authenticated from that site and use actually AWS resources. So that topic is still upcoming with the identities subject. So okay, right now what we're doing is we're creating a role. So if you've selected this AWS, then which service really need to have a role? For which service you want to create a role? This is going to be the question. So let's select the EC2. That's the famous one. Otherwise, there are 200 plus services that anyone you can select there. If I select the EC2 here, let's go ahead and select the EC2. So for this service, you're creating a role, or this role has all the privileges for using EC2, which is a virtual machine service, right? So once you select that, go ahead and select that EC2 and then click next, permissions, right? So click next, permissions, and then there is all the permissions that are there. What we can do is, hopefully you're on that page, and what we can do is we can go to click search. Go ahead and click search here, and again EC2, just type here EC2. Why I'm always using EC2? It's about virtual machine, where in future we will be doing the labs for this, but it's most common one. You can go for S3 as well, which is storage. You can go for VPC as well, which is networking. You can go for databases as well. So whichever service you want to choose, I'm just going for EC2 right now. So if you have typed EC2 here, then you should be able to see this Amazon EC2 full access. I hope everyone is seeing this, and nobody is the lucky one today that you're not seeing this. So okay, EC2, when you type, and you should be able to see Amazon EC2 full access. Go ahead and click that. What we're doing is we're attaching a collection of permissions which are collected inside a policy. So we are attaching a policy which is a collection of permissions, right? We are attaching a policy to a role. And where do we use that role? In those four scenarios that we discussed, there you can use the role, right? But what privileges you are attaching to that role, these are the privileges. Suppose you want to attach blockchain privileges, suppose you want to attach database privileges, VPC, so you can select that. Anyway, we're just selecting EC2 full access just to check how to create a role. And once you've selected that, let's click tags. And yeah, that's the tag, and it's okay. So nothing here. And let's click review. Now here you have to give the name of the role, right? So you can go for your first name, EC2 full access dash role. Your first name, EC2 full access dash role, right? So hopefully you were able to give a name, and this would be our screenshot 2 as well. Your first name, EC2 full access, and then role. So that would be screenshot 2. Creating a role. The name of the screenshot 2 would be creating a role. Oh, well, put it AWS role. If not, if you've already done that, then creating a role is okay. Otherwise, creating an AWS role. So if you face those for any of the 4 scenarios only, then you should be able to use a role. Otherwise, it's always policies that we use. And we're going to go to that topic. That is a bit longer one. So I'm going to take that screenshot now. Hopefully you've already taken it. Make sure your ID on the top right is showing in your screenshot. And creating an AWS role is the title. I'll just quickly put it here. Screenshot 2. Creating AWS role, or and whatever, and I'll put it on WhatsApp as well. COMP3108 screenshot 2 creating an AWS role. All right. So once we have taken the screenshot here, and you just attach permissions to the role, and then you check if you have that kind of any of the 4 scenarios you have, then you can only use that. But this is how it is created. So I'm going to click create role now. Okay, so I'll refresh that, and with Harshan, Jacob, Charco, Keith, Kingsley. Okay, cool. So all the roles are here, but hopefully we understand that what does role really do. But then comes the policies after that. Normally, I give an example of a role, where we test it actually when we create a AWS-based Active Directory. Now that is pretty heavy. Like AWS Active Directory, on top of AWS, when you create Active Directory, it actually creates in the background two heavy virtual machines. Heavy means obviously more CPU, more RAM, based virtual machines, and well. So first I'll check it if we can do it and not run out of our credits as well. Okay, but that's one example of when you're creating Active Directory and connecting it to EC2 instances, then you use role. That's one example. Okay, but if we go for policies now, okay, what is your favorite open source Ldap server? Open source, I would just simply not go open source. Basically I'm a Microsoft guy, and even the current project is also totally Microsoft. But any project I get for AWS, so in that case, I would go for its on Ldap services. AWS's Ldap services are very good. If you go for directory service, which is also near in that category of IAM, you would see just like Cognito was there, and it also connects to Active Directory. So yeah, my favorite would still be non-open source, which is Azure Active Directory, because it's pretty much everywhere and it's pretty powerful. But open source I haven't gone through though for now. But what is yours, Paul? You have any? And we would also get to researching. Okay, open source. Even Linux with Samba server connects to Active Directory. Active Directory is using in the background Kerberos, right? So it's pretty powerful. And I've seen many development environments, even open source guys are connecting to Azure Active Directory, but definitely there are others as well. Okay, so okay, Open Ldap seems to be most popular. Open Ldap. Okay, hopefully big companies are also using it. I'm sure they maybe for at least test environment. And yeah, developers that are taking benefit of this. Okay, so that's good. And so guys, here, if we go to policies here under the roles, so you can see, and you've been seeing that already, the policies. In fact, the policy, you're about to create a policy, right? Well, I mean, you're about to create a policy. That's what I'm saying. Now, here, obviously, you see a lot of AWS created policies, and then what about if we have to create our own policy? So suppose there's a scenario there that there are desktop guys who just joined the company, and you, the senior administrator, have to create a custom policy where these guys should be able to create virtual machines, start virtual machine, stop, restart virtual machine, make changes in the virtual machine, but they cannot delete our virtual machine, right? Suppose you want to go for that policy. Suppose you want to go for any other type of, they can upload storage, they can upload files, but they cannot delete the files. Or suppose you want to just go full read only. These guys, for first 2 weeks, they will just have read-only access to the environment, so they could just see it and understand the configurations, but cannot make any changes. So any of those scenarios where you want to create custom policies, then and suppose you have developers that are working on Alexa, the speech recognition and voice command software, right? And devices that you're creating. So those are developers. You want to give them just few permissions, but any of these policies, when you check and you want to attach to their group, so these policies have more permissions than you want them to have. So in that case, you go for custom policy and you handpick the permissions and collect them into a policy, and then you attach that policy to those users. Normally, best practice is you create a group. Suppose they're desktop support guys, you create a group called desktop support, then you handpick the permissions, create a policy out of them, and then attach that policy to that desktop group, right? Obviously, when you handpick those permissions and create a policy, you will vigorously check that. You will check it again and again and again and again until with a test desktop user account, and until you're satisfied that okay, yes, this is the permission, these are the set of permissions they should have, and yes, they cannot do this, they cannot. Okay, we're good. So you would really test it for whatever scenario you have to create a custom policy for. Okay, so Khalid says, can we go through till 9:30 without break and end early? Yeah, we can. Yes, we can. Unless somebody wants a nature break, bio break. It's also called bio break or nature break or something. Anyway, so if anyone wants that, it's okay. If anyone's against no break and end early. Okay, so everyone says no break and end early, other than Amir. So everyone just grab Amir and convince him. So hey, not me, that the other one. So well, it's or maybe have a break and end early. Wow. Okay, let's just end now, right? So come on, man. Okay, so let's continue instead of the discussion, but so yeah, that's smart. Okay, so we were talking about the policy, and let's click the create policy. So let's go ahead and click the create policy. And let's go ahead, and what we're seeing here is create a policy. There's a visual editor and there's a JSON, right? So you want to put JSON code there. You can do that too. If I go to JSON, then you can start writing some code there that okay, allow this but don't allow that, or you can select from visual editor what you want and what you don't want, and you can then see what is the code for that. So whatever you select here, its code will be also created there, and then you can save that code, and next time you can actually run a code or make some changes, modification to the code, and run it for any creation of future policies, right? So let's go ahead, and there's that select a service. So let's first of all in visual editor select a service. So for that, let's click choose a service. Once we click choose a service, so it's gonna line up the 200 plus services here, and for whichever service you want to create a policy, you can create. And again, as you know, my favorite, well, it's not my favorite, but it's just understandable more easily in terms of permissions as well. Let's go for EC2, which is virtual machine, right? So this is EC2. So we're creating a custom policy for Elastic Compute Cloud or virtual machine service, and in that we still see some categories here: EC2 auto scaling, EC2 image builder, EC2 instance connect, EC2 messages. So we're just gonna stick to the EC2 for which we're creating a custom policy. I'm just gonna select this EC2 again now. Hopefully you're doing that. And once you click EC2 here, then we have this manual action. So what actions you want allowed in this custom policy that you are creating. So suppose you go for all actions. So this is pretty much EC2 full access anyway, right? So if you go for all actions, hey, every action is allowed. Or you can go for, and then you can go for access levels there. It also means that for what actions you want these restrictions to be there. So let's go for access level and check it out. What is list? What is read, tagging, write, permissions management? So if we go to list here and we expand that list, so you will see it's a long list of what you can check in a. So what is a list? It's just describing the service. So you want to get some information about EC2, then what do you want allowed? That do you want describe account attributes? Somebody runs a command against a virtual machine and it describes the attributes of that virtual machine. That what are the features of that virtual machine, this particular virtual machine. Suppose for security reason you don't want that happen, that nobody should be able to get information about the attributes of the virtual machine. So in that case you don't have to select that. So and you can see on the right side there's a switch to deny permissions. This means this is all, whatever you select is allow, but whatever you don't select pretty much is what you're not allowed, right? So if we go ahead now, well, the main purpose here is not to go for some specific scenario, but to show you that how much granularity, how much in depth you can go when you're allowing. So this is a list about EC2 instances, and EC2 connects with DHCP as well. It connects with customer gateways as well, with NAT gateways, with volumes as well. A virtual machine gets connected to pretty much every other service as well. So that's why there's a long list here, that what do you want allowed, what do you don't want allowed. So I'm going to go for the first one. You know, we're pretending that okay, you've done your due diligence, you've gone through all that, and you've selected very few of those features for the desktop support guys, that they should be able to only check this, but nothing else. So I'm just gonna go for the first one. Also, one more thing, describe instance type offerings. What does it do really? So there are question marks in front of every access level that is in the list that they're showing. So suppose you go for a question mark here, so describe addresses. So if you allow that, this means that when they run a command, the addresses will be, so whatever IP addresses are there, whatever DNS name are there, that information will be received, right? So I'm just, I've checked it. So I'm going to go for question mark here. I'll just check that, hey, what does it really do? So grants permission to describe one or more elastic IP addresses. So you want to grab information about how many IP addresses are attached to this virtual machine. So this means that if you select this, whoever is part of this security group that you're creating, or security or custom policy that you're creating, will be able to retrieve IP address information. Suppose you uncheck that. Now if anyone runs a query against a virtual machine, and if it's asking about, hey, what kind of IP addresses are there, so that information cannot be retrieved if you uncheck that, right? So we get the idea that okay, sometimes you don't see that from description. I don't get what it's saying. So then you can go for learn more here. If I click the learn more, then you can also, so Hamid says, what's the difference by the way this AWS and desktop central agent or manage engine? Well, manage engine and desktop central agent, so that would be management software for resources and whatever resources that third party have configured. Suppose they can manage all the cell phones, tablets, and laptops and desktops of a company. So, well, that's just a specific software doing specific jobs there or tasks there. While this is by the way, this AWS. Now, AWS, like, it's a full cloud solution, and this custom, maybe if you're asking about this custom policy, isn't a third-party software also doing this? Yes, but if you came here to AWS and you spent some money here, and if it can achieve the same thing, then why would you want to purchase an expensive third-party software? And this is just part of the 200 plus services. That's just one service, right? So yes, that third-party software, you want to invest in that. Yes, it can do all those specific tasks you want it to do. Otherwise, there's no comparison between that manage engine or desktop software and what we're doing now, because this is part of a big, huge 200 plus services, cloud provider. So okay, so here, just for example, just go ahead and select one. But we understand that if we don't get what it does, go for question mark. We understand that, oh, if we still don't get from description, just click learn more, and it's going to give you the details of all this, right? I'm going to close this, and you have selected one from the list, and let's collapse this arrow, right? Let's collapse this arrow. Once we collapse that, so you can see that if you have selected 5 or 10 or 20 or 30 there, so it would have told you, it would have shown you that how many you selected from the list access level, right? Then we go for read here, and we expand that as well. Now you get the idea that I was talking about hand picking permissions, so it gets that granular, it gets that in depth, that you have so many permissions for all types of access levels there, that you want to have read permission. What exactly does it do? Elastic GPUs there, fast snapshot. So you have to know those resources as well, for which you're about to allow those users to have privilege of. So describe elastic GPUs. Well, I'm just selecting one from there. Suppose you've done your due diligence, and you've really found out that what services, what permissions you want to give or attach to this custom policy that you're creating. So I'm just going to go for the first one here as well, and we get to know the question mark is already, we understand that it can just give you more details of what you're selecting here. And I'm going to collapse that arrow as well. Then we go for tagging. Tagging is just, you want to put some more metadata, some more information about what you're doing. So, okay, you want to allow them to create tags there as well, and delete tags if it's wrong information for whatever you're creating, maybe a virtual machine you're creating, EC2 instance, right? So I selected both here and collapse, and so 2 selected here. Then we go for write. Now this is that area where you have to be the most careful one. So I'm just going to expand that, and then write permissions. So this is about EC2 instance, which is a virtual machine, but the EC2 instance can be used for transit gateway, for reserved instances, feature, import snapshot. So lots of actions are there that you can allow in and attach to this custom policy that you're creating. So accept action is there, create action is there, import, modify action, delete action, and allocate address, allocate action, associate, delete, modify. It goes really detailed. Attach, authorize, bundle, cancel, copy, confirm, and it goes on, right? Modify. And these are for the virtual machine that you've selected there, for which you're creating a custom policy, how that virtual machine, what other services can interact with that virtual machine, or whoever is a member of this custom policy can use whichever other services with the virtual machine. So you can allow that. So that's a long list of what can be done. Suppose we go for the first one here, create, but obviously you would then choose that, okay, this guy should be able to create, this guy should be able to modify, whoever's part of this custom policy should be able to import snapshot, create VPN connections as well, but then you don't select anything in delete, right? Or you can just switch to deny permissions as well and add some of the deny permissions in this. But if you don't select that already, users won't be able to really do this. So you can just go ahead and select whatever you want, but in a production environment, obviously you will vigorously test that. Here, you get the idea what we're talking about. So I'm going to click select the first one, just random one, for no particular reason, and just to show that, okay, this is how we do that. And go ahead and collapse this as well. So other than that, there's permissions management, and that's also if you want to select anything from here. So create network interface permission, so that guy can create more network interface, whoever is part of this custom policy. So suppose we select from here as well, modify snapshot attribute, modify VPC. So some of the tasks that are sensitive as well. So do you want these guys to do all this or not, whoever is part of this custom policy? I'm going to collapse this one as well. So 1 1 2 1 1 we have selected like this, right? And this custom policy does not end here. There's select resources to restrict access. Furthermore, what else you want restricted for those desktop users who are going to be part of this custom policy that we are creating here? What else you want restricted? So that's another long list here. What did we choose for right? John says for right, the first one actually does not show which one. If you had selected any one from anywhere here, as long as it's just one selected, so it's going to show one. So it's the first one I selected, but it could be any one. Okay, so we had gone for this, but the main purpose was to explain that what it is and why would you choose anything from any of those lists there, any of those access levels there. So other than that, there is select resources to restrict access. Now what you want access restricted to. So I'm going to expand the resources now. Let's expand the resources, and then you can see that what you want restricted for those guys. Can they be allowed to do capacity reservation? What is a capacity reservation? Well, if you play with the words, reserving capacity, which means that suppose your company wants to create 5 virtual machines, but those 5 virtual machines should have 32 core CPU, that's a lot, 1 terabyte RAM, and terabytes of SSD disks. Suppose all 5 virtual machines must have this huge hardware configuration, and you want that reserved. Reserved means for 1 year. Suppose you're telling AWS, hey AWS, for 1 full year we are reserving this. This means hey AWS, you better arrange for us 32 core processors for 5 virtual machines, 1 terabyte RAM for each of the 5 virtual machines, and terabytes of SSD disk for each of the 5 virtual machines. So AWS says that we have the right to accept or deny this at the start of the contract. So if they see that they can arrange this kind of hardware for 1 year for this company, then they will accept if they see that they won't be able to arrange this kind of hardware for the whole year, then they can deny as well. Because if they accept and then they don't provide, or they have an outage, they have to reimburse the money to the client, right, who have asked to reserve capacity. So okay, anyway, what we are saying here is that you want them not to do capacity reservation, you select that, right? You want them not to do client VPN and not customer gateway, and so this is how it goes. But you can go for all resources as well, so I'm just gonna uncheck all that, right? Uncheck. So I've selected the first one, which means that normally when you come to this area, and either you select all or at least one of these are all specific tasks, these are all sensitive and critical tasks. One of the critical tasks that are there, hey, do you want them, whoever is a part of this custom policy, do you want them restricted to create client VPN, restricted to create customer gateway? Like, you don't want them to create customer gateway, you don't want them to do this, you don't want them to do this, so please select. Or either you select all or you select at least one of them, then they will let you go ahead. So we selected one, and that's the first one, that please restrict them to this. If we go down, so if we have all selected the first one, then we go down, and that's a long list there. Are you kidding me? Okay, so that's pretty long list, right? I'm at the bottom of the page now, and there's a request condition. So custom policy still doesn't end at, hey, what resources you want restricted, but also, do you want to put some more restriction? So there's a request condition here. What is that? If I expand the request condition, so it says that, okay, other than all the restrictions you have put above, do you want the members of this policy to have MFA required, which means that multi-factor authentication, which means that not only they have to put username password to enter AWS, they have to also look into the cell phone. They have to go to the cell phone, and in there's a Google Authenticator application there, and you have to just read the code from their 6-digit and then put it there as well. So username password plus another factor of authentication. So you want to you require that, or you want to go even more strict, that they can only connect from this source IP, whatever source IP you put there. So members of this custom policy will have to connect from this particular IP that you put here. Suppose this is the IP of your branch. Nowadays everyone's working from home, so suppose this is the IP of their DSL. Whenever the IP changes, they put a request again, and you put that new IP there, and then they connect. So either this you can do, or well, you don't put this at all, that because when you connect from home, your home IP is not static. I mean, it keeps on changing, it's dynamic. Static public IPs are given to organizations, to businesses, not to residences, unless you go to some ISP that actually allows that for residences. You have to search for that kind of ISP. So anyway, I'm going to uncheck this, but you understand that you have to put a public IP. Then other than that public IP, the users cannot then connect to AWS, because this custom policy requires them to connect to that from that particular IP. So that's a lot of restrictions when you go custom, right? So it's pretty in depth, and I haven't seen this kind of depth in AWS, in Microsoft Azure, and in the Google Cloud, and in Oracle Cloud. So, and in Office 365. Office 365 also has actually a depth. In fact, the governance there is also having a lot of detailed permissions related stuff. So yes, Microsoft Azure also has Azure Active Directory. Azure Active Directory is pretty powerful as well. But this custom policy, you can see how many ways you can create a policy there, right? So if you have gone through all this, then one more thing I need to check here. If we go to JSON, so yes, you can see that it has, whatever we selected, it has created the code, it has created the script for that, well, the code for that, right? JSON. I'm going to go back to Visual Editor now, and then I'm going to go down to Review Policy, and on the review, that will be our third screenshot. On the review page will be our third screenshot. So I'm going to click that Review Policy now, and this is the page here, and we have to give it a name. So let's give it a name, your first name dash custom policy. Select this, Control A, copy this, Control C, click on description, Control V, put it in description as well. So hopefully you've done that too. So once you have placed your name, your first name dash custom policy, so we can just give that, take the screenshot number 3 now. Creating custom policy is the title, creating custom policy, and your ID on the top right should be showing. Creating custom policy, take a screenshot here, and I'll go for sample screenshot now. and hopefully you've taken your screenshot, and yeah, screenshot 3, creating custom policy. And I'll put it there. COMP3108 equals screenshot 3 equals creating custom policy. Okay, so okay, let's go ahead. Once we have created that, then we can simply click that create policy. Now, so there's that summary. This policy defines some actions, resources, or conditions that do not provide permissions to grant access. Policies must have an action that has an applicable resource or condition. For details, choose show remaining. So we have just gone for, we didn't put any condition here, right? There were two conditions there, MFA required, or there's that your IP, public IP, right? So we didn't put that, which is okay, but let's check if it lets us even create a policy. So I'm just going to click that create policy now. Okay, so it lets us create a policy, and I'm going to refresh here. And here, so well, you can all put your name there, right? So suppose I put there my name, right? So the policy comes up here, right? So you can go, oh, entity already exists. Oh, yeah, in the other class, Amir, I think I used AMIR there when I was creating my policy. So I should have created there AMER and not IR. So yeah, you got the screenshot already, and this was just a sample custom policy. We are not actually going to use that, so you're okay. Or you can go for your first name 1 as a policy, right? No, it's okay. I'm used to it in this class, so but you can go for your first name 1 as well. It's okay, it doesn't matter, but thank you. Alright guys, so here we have created a custom policy. Hopefully you understand all the features and how in-depth it can get, and when you attach that custom policy to some user or group, then those guys will be restricted to so many things and can be allowed to so many small things. Okay, so that's what we are talking about, the policies here. So we went for groups, users, I showed you how to create roles, and then policies here. Then there is identity providers, and once we click the identity providers here, so this comes. Everyone sees this? Or is it just me seeing this? If I click back, oh, so Hamid actually sees not this, but the actual screen there. Although it's a theory topic, because the lab for that would not be possible here. What are identity providers? I see it too. So the same error, this screen. The other section, they all saw the screen, but very strange, Hamid, you're able to not see this, but the actual identity provider screen. That's cool. So identity providers. Okay, I see it too. So identity providers here would be You know what? I can also show. We'll go back here. Oh yeah. Oh, okay. You have the same app. So identity providers, what does it show? So first of all, it's still saying that, hey, this is something that, now what they're saying is they're gonna send $1 to your account to just check that are you really connected to an actual bank account or not. So that takes like sometimes lots of days. So but I can just show you from my other account that is connected, which I use somewhere else, and I'll try to just show how it does it look like, because here in AWS Educate there are a lot of limitations and restrictions there as well. So if I go ahead, this is another account, and if I go to Iam there, oh, why does it always open in North California? Okay, so identity and providers. Looks like Z's, right? So well, you're not able to see that, but from another account which I use to teach somewhere else. So here, have you considered using AWS single sign-on? So what is identity provider? Use an identity provider IDP to manage your user identities outside of AWS, but grant the user identities permissions to use AWS resources in your account. So in English, what it means is that other website users can be authenticated by their sites and then can use AWS resources. So AWS trusts the other website's authentication system and trusts that if the users were authenticated from that other site, then AWS will also accept them, and I will let them use my resources. So that's what it's pretty much saying. So if I go to add provider just to show you what's going on or how does it look like from inside. So there's that SAML here, security assertion markup language. So establish trust between your AWS account and a SAML 2.0 compatible identity provider. Whenever you see identity provider, this means somebody or some service that has credentials stored, some service that has the ability to store credentials is called identity provider. So Active Directory can store credentials, can store username and password hashes, right? So that is a identity provider. Facebook would have their own authentication authorization system, so they are identity providers. So pretty much every website has either a third-party identity provider or they have their own identity providing solution. So whichever service offers to store credentials is called identity provider. So you want to connect to some other site that is an ID provider. So here it says such as Shibboleth or Active Directory Federation services. We just talked about that if your on-premises structure, your local branch here has Active Directory installed and it's connected with Active Directory Federation services, so that is our identity provider right now because it can store the credentials, and through that, if you want to connect to those guys or any other, Shibboleth is another application, and they have their own IDP or identity provider providing system, right? Or you want to connect to OpenID Connect. What is that? Establish trust between your AWS account and identity providing provider services such as Google or Salesforce. Now, Google, obviously you create a Gmail, so Google stores your username and password, and with that, Google lets you connect to scores of services like Google Photos, Google Gmail, and all the long list of services that are there in terms of apps there, right? So these are all the services that are there with Google. Well, not all are Google. So YouTube and everything. So, but with one set of credentials, you can just use majority of those services. So OpenID Connect, if you select that, suppose, then it says that, hey, have you made the connection to that website? So if I go for how to connect AWS with G Suite, right, which is Google, right? How to use how to set up federated single sign-on AWS and with the Google Apps, right? Or with how setting up G Suite SAML 2.0 federation with. So Amazon has provided those documentation there to connect AWS with Google, and that's a long list of steps that you need to take there to connect the two services together. You have to have a license purchase with Google G Suite, and then you can just simply exchange each other's security information that they both require for you to connect to each other. So this is setting up G Suite SAML 2.0 federation with Amazon AppStream 2.0. So you want to connect two different sites together. There are procedures there that they have lined up in the documentation. Go ahead and connect them. Then those users which are in G Suite, they can log in from G Suite and get authenticated from G Suite, but then be able to use AWS resources as well. So you want to connect some local branch on premises federation services to your AWS. So this is the way. SAML is the way. Or OpenID Connect, you want to connect to some other site and their users you want coming here. So the other site doesn't have to create users here in AWS. AWS just trusts their authentication system, and you go ahead and connect. So this is the whole IDP or identity provider system, or the concept behind that. And as we can see that these are all the steps. Create a SAML 2.0 application, create an AWS. Suppose I go for another example of connecting, how to connect AWS with Facebook, if they support that. I think they do. Choose Amazon, so Facebook identity pools, Amazon Cognito. So Facebook SDK uses a session object to track its state. Amazon Cognito uses the access token from this session object. Amazon Cognito just simply provides authentication system, right? Maybe Facebook is using in the background that, or Facebook has its own credentials saving features. Facebook login using AWS Amplify and AWS Cognito. So you can use Facebook as well. Any users in AWS can connect to Facebook. That's the other way right now. Or suppose I go for salesforce.com. That's another famous site. Build an Amazon Connect integration and create an Amazon Web Services account, and then they all go Salesforce and Amazon Web Services. Embed the CCP into Salesforce. Get started with Amazon Connect and Salesforce. Well, there's a question here. To do this integration, you need a Salesforce account and an AWS account, obviously. So this is the page that really tells that how to connect two sites, but that would be then through the OpenID Connect, and then it just gives you what you exactly need to do with this. So no, that is not a step-by-step what I'm seeing here, but Salesforce technology, and then Salesforce uses metadata, APIs, and containers to enable its technology. To enable quick deployment and scaling, Salesforce runs Kubernetes in production on bare metal throughout their cloud infrastructure. This kind of architecture enables Salesforce to provide fine-grained microservices for Salesforce end users. So anyway, how much of Salesforce using AWS in the background, or does it have its own all platform? So Salesforce and AWS are partners, okay, and offer a number of connectivity options, and that's where AWS, well, they're just introducing both Salesforce and AWS, but they are partners, so this means Salesforce may be using some of the, in the background, some of the AWS services, right? Okay, so we get the idea that IDP or identity providers are just other sites or your local branch that you want to connect, and there's a way to connect that. Obviously, you have to go through that document, and then once you're done with that, you provide that security information based document and upload here, and it will just detect that, okay, so Salesforce want to connect to me. Okay, so what I need is in the document. Yes, okay, security information and the account that has authorization. Once you provide all that, it gets connected. So, well, you just have to have that document to really go through it. Now I'm gonna sign out from here, and then sign in. So this is what identity provider, or this is how identity provider looks like. In fact, yeah, you guessed it. So I'm just gonna go back to identity providers. Why? So you can take a screenshot of my screen this time. So I'll go to identity providers, and screenshot number 4 is, well, AWS identity providers. Just wait, I'm gonna click the add provider. Now you can take a screenshot of this screen. Well, this is my screen that you're taking a screenshot of, because on your screen you can't see all this. So you can take a screenshot of my screen and AWS identity provider, AWS identity provider, screenshot number 4, AWS identity provider, and you can take a screenshot of my screen. Take a screenshot, AWS identity provider. So I'll just put that quickly here. Screenshot for AWS identity provider. So you're gonna take a screenshot of my screen. This is the screen that you need to take a screenshot of. And COMP3108 screenshot for AWS identity provider. Okay, so if you've taken a screenshot of my screen and put the title there as well, I'm just gonna sign out from here now and sign in from our account there. Well, once I sign in and sign in, okay, I'll just go to Iam now. And so this was identity providers that we were talking about. Then there are account settings here. Let's go to the account settings, right? And in account settings, hopefully you're able to see that on your side as well. And you go to password policy. So a password policy is a set of rules that define the type of password. Yeah, it's a password policy. We understand that. So minimum password length is 8 characters. So let's click that change button here, everyone. So on your side, you can just go ahead and click that change button. So the only password policy right now is this, enforce minimum password length. But this is pretty straightforward. You want to make a complex password, you just select whatever you want, how many characters you want here, and special characters or non-alphanumeric character. And prevent password reuse, allow users to change their own password. Password expiration requires administrator. So that's pretty straightforward. I mean, nothing here, nothing complicated here. You want to make a complex password, you can go ahead and click, right? I'm going to click cancel. Go ahead and click cancel here. And then there's a security token service or STS here. AWS recommends using regional STS endpoints to reduce latency. Session tokens from regional STS endpoints are valid in all AWS regions. If you use regional STS endpoints, no action is required. Session tokens from the global STS endpoint are valid. So what are session tokens? Normally when you connect to AWS, there's a session in which this is a session where you're connected to AWS, and there's a security token for that particular session. It's just an alphanumeric character code, a password that is created for this particular session to encrypt it. And those security tokens are normally they have to be saved in your AWS account. So it's pretty much we're not supposed to make any changes here. You can just choose that where you want to store that, which region you want to store those security token sessions. So which is just the security information about your current session when you're connected. That's a session, right? So not much changes here, but if you go down further, there is that always active regions here, and then there are these are all active regions where your session information, security information about your session is saved if you're connected to any of those regions in Asia Pacific or EU, or South America. So those regions, if you want to deactivate that, I don't want that security information to be locally saved in that particular region, you can deactivate that as well. But normally we don't really change that unless you have some specific security concerns about certain regions where you have your data. So other than that, account settings, if we go ahead, then there is access analyzer, and if I click that, so these are pretty much access reports, which is very useful, that who accessed which service at what time from which account, right? So you can click access analyzer here. If I click that, bingo. Okay, so some of the AWS educate limitations there, that it's kind of a report. So I guess you're all also seeing this again. But we just need to understand, because there's not much to configure here, and access analyzer is just well, if you play with the words, analyzes the access, that when did you log in from which public IP at what time from which user account. So if I go out of this, sign out, and then log in from the other account again, just to show that how does it look like from inside. But pretty much it's a security report for you, and so if we log in from here, go to IAM, well, if I log in from here and go to IAM and then go to access analyzer, so you would just find that it's not a lot of stuff here, but obviously for security you are going to need it to keep an eye on who's connecting at what time from where, right? So create an analyzer. You can set the scope for the analyzer to an organization or an AWS account. This is your zone of trust. So the analyzer scans all of the supported resources within your zone of trust. What is zone of trust? You can set the scope for the analyzer to an organization or AWS account. So AWS account is your zone of trust. Wherever you're able to log in and do whatever you want is your zone of trust. So you're able to log into North Virginia here, and on the top right, whatever regions you're able to log in are your zone of trust. So anyone else logs into your zone of trust, their access will be identified, and it would be placed in the access analyzer that this guy connected at this time, right? So review active findings. When access analyzer finds a policy that allows access to a resource from outside of your zone of trust. So the main idea behind that again is that first of all, your zone of trust is where you log in. Second thing is that anyone connects from outside of your zone of trust. So anyone connects from, suppose you only use North Virginia region and you've been using that. So you can define that, okay, North Virginia data centers or this region is my zone of trust. Anyone connects from outside of this zone of trust to your zone of trust. So this means that an outsider tried to connect. So analyzer will just simply point that out, that okay, there's a user who is not created in this, if it's another AWS account from which somebody logged in, so you can, the analyzer will just then give you an alert. So when Access Analyzer finds a policy that allows access to a resource from outside of your zone of trust, it generates an active finding. Findings include details about the access so that you can take action. So okay, first you find out that okay, somebody connected from out of my zone of trust, which means that in most cases it would be you may have given access to somebody outside of your AWS account from another AWS account, and you've given that person, okay, you can connect from 9 to 5, right, 9 a.m. till 5 p.m. But that person connects outside of that time, which is kind of a breach of trust as well. So whenever that person is connecting from outside with the mutually understandable times, so that's good. Still the access will be put there, that okay, this guy connected at this time, and you will say, yeah, 9 to 5 it's okay, yeah. But then you see again that in the finding that okay, this guy is actually connecting from outside of that 9 to 5, then you can just raise an alarm. So take action. If the access is intended, you can archive the findings so that you can focus on reviewing active findings. So this means that if it was intended, this is what I was saying. Suppose you allowed from another AWS account somebody between 9 to 5. So this was intended access. But outside of that, then you would get suspicious and you would not archive that. So you would archive this information, but not any other information. If the access is not intended, you can resolve the finding by modifying the policy to remove access to the resource. So anyway, this would just simply raise an alert. It will always log the access of whoever's connecting from outside, but you can then go through that. Yes, this was intended. This was intended. Oh, this was not intended. So let me check and investigate that. So pretty much it's a reporting of who is accessing at what time. And if I click that create analyzer, so it just simply asks here, hey, this North Virginia region you're creating from there, and is this your zone of trust? Policies for all supported resources within your zone of trust are analyzed to identify access allowed from outside of the zone of trust. So anyone connecting from another AWS account, current account is this. This is the account ID of my AWS account. So anyone connecting from outside, then there will be an alarm raised there. It will just simply mention that this guy connected at this time, right? I'm going to click that create analyzer. Well, it's just after you create an analyzer, you just wait. Somebody connects, it tells you. Nobody connects, that's it. It's empty. Pretty straightforward, right? So access analyzer, that would be our screenshot number 5. AWS access analyzer, it analyzes access. So well, you set it up and then you wait for the reports. That's all. Let's take a screenshot number 5. AWS access analyzer. Screenshot number 5. AWS access analyzer. Screenshot number 5, AWS access analyzer. Go ahead and take my screenshot now, and I'll just take a screenshot now. Hopefully you have taken that screenshot as well of my account. So AWS access analyzer, screenshot 5, AWS access analyzer. Okay, I'll just type there as well. COMP3108 screenshot 5 AWS Access Analyzer. Okay, so the screenshot was of this page, AWS Access Analyzer. All right, so let's go and head. So I'm gonna go back. You know what? Even the next pages, how do they look like? Sign out. Database management. Log in again. IAM. So IAM, obviously it's a global service, so you can't select any regions here. Support is a global service. IAM is a global service. CloudWatch, another monitoring service, that's a global service as well. So if we go down here to Credential Report, if I click that Credential Report, so I guess yeah, you all got this. You all will be able to do that as well. So I'm going to download that Credential Report. Now what does it do? Click the button to download a report that lists all your account's users and the status of their various credentials. After a report is created, it is stored for up to 4 hours. For more information, see the documentation. So I'm just going to click that download report now. Obviously this report is keeping an eye on who logged in at what time for how long, right? Well, who logged in, right? So I've downloaded that report. I'm just gonna open that report so you could see how it looks like. And that's a lot of information. What time, which date, who logged in, right? So these are all the timings there. There are many reports for pretty much every click that is done there. Not like literally click, but what services were used at what time, what changes were made at what time by which account, right? So all this is just who logged in at what time. So that's a lot of information there for the users, and that's for today. So I'm just gonna close that. Well, yeah, don't say. I'll close this one as well. No use of that now. So download report pretty much just gives you whatever report you want at that current time. So other than that, there's an organization activity, and obviously this will give an error, but there's a reason for giving it an error. So this is even in my other account, it will give you an error. So what it really means, what does it do? So organization activity, first of all, what's the error? Your account isn't a member of an organization. To make this request, you must use the credentials of an account that belongs to an organization. Your account is not a member of an organization. So which organization they're talking about again and again? For that, let's click services. So everyone go ahead and click services here. And once you click services, then either we can go down to management and governance, which is pretty well, it's just right in front of you. If you had clicked services, then you would see right away management and governance, and right under that is AWS Organizations. So what is AWS Organizations? The basic idea behind that. So first of all, I hope everyone's seeing that, and go ahead and click AWS Organizations now. Everyone, go ahead and click AWS Organizations now. Once you click AWS Organizations, then you see the intro, this one. Now, obviously, you're logged in from your account, so your account will be showing here on the top right. AWS Organizations enables you to centrally apply policy-based controls across multiple accounts in the AWS cloud. So you can consolidate all of your AWS accounts into an organization and arrange all AWS accounts into distinct organizational units. So pretty much what it's saying in English is that if you are having, so your company has AWS account, okay. So your company has AWS account, wow, it looks even better. Okay, AWS account 1 for production environment, prod, right? And then your company has AWS account 2 for test, and this is a separate AWS account, that is a separate AWS account, and then your company has another AWS account 3, and that's for dev. So normally these are the three environments you will see in every company. Dev, development, you can do whatever you want, uninstall, reinstall software. It's a totally separate environment which does not or should not affect the test and prod environment. Test and prod are production environments are supposed to be exactly the same. First, you suppose there's a new policy there, suppose there's a new software, suppose there's a new update, Microsoft updates or any other Linux updates, whatever you deployed there. So first you do those updates here, you test them, you restart them in the test environment, which is supposed to be an exact replica of the production environment. Once you've tested those updates or new deployment, new features, and they do not affect your applications, then you exactly do that on production environment. So that's why test environments are also kept very, very carefully. Although they're called test, they have to be very carefully protected and maintained like you protect and maintain production environments, right? Because then whenever you test anything, it would have been, it's like you're testing on a production environment, but it's not exactly a production environment, but it exactly is configured like a production environment, right? So suppose you have 3 AWS accounts and you have like 20 virtual machines or here, and obviously for test environment you have a replica of those 20 VMs here as well, right? And in dev environment you have like 10 virtual machines here. And now when you create a virtual machine, obviously you have to give CPU, you have to give RAM, you have to give storage, you have to give networking. They will all cost your company. So there are charges they are building up in AWS 3, there are charges there which are building up in AWS 2, there are charges building up in AWS 1. Now if you don't use AWS Organizations, so what happens is you log into AWS 1 and check out, or maybe you've set an email alert and they're all sending you emails. But what about you really want one central management console from where you can check all 3 AWS accounts, and this you can just consolidate all 3 AWS accounts, right? So you can just create AWS Organizations, you can send an invitation to other AWS accounts. Suppose you create the organization in this account, then you send an invitation to other accounts, and from other accounts you receive that invitation, you click that URL and it takes you to this AWS organization. So you create one organization to control 3 different AWS subscriptions or accounts, and you see their billing in one central console. And yeah, okay, we don't have permission to access this. Yes, this resource, there's no there will be no lab here. I'm just explaining that what is this, because it will require that you should have another AWS account, and that we don't have. But if you want that lab, I can just send you with some other college where they put their own, administrators, they put their own credit cards and then they do that. So, but the thing is, you need to understand the concept here. You don't have to really go here. So, okay, if you say you don't have permission, obviously, then guys, are you able to see this page at least on your side, or you're not able to even open that page? Like not having permission is a separate thing, but can you see this page when you click it? Okay, you see that. Okay, great. I can open, but no permission. Yes, that is expected, and obviously, well, there is no lab for that because we don't have to. We don't have 2 or 3 separate AWS accounts. This is not IAM users. IAM users are all created in one AWS account. This is just one AWS account, right? So if there are more like these separate accounts and they have their own IAM environment and they've created their own users, so those AWS accounts you want to add there. So for that purpose, you need AWS organizations to centrally control 3, 4, 10 accounts. Big companies, they all have multiple AWS accounts with multiple billing going on there, charges going on there, right? So in that case, you use that. So what we can do is we can take a screenshot number 6 now, which is just showing this screen on your side, and this will be your screenshot. Your name should be showing, your ID should be showing on the top right. But this is just, we understand the purpose of this, that it's for multiple AWS accounts where you don't want to log in separately, but you want to see from one console 3 or 4 AWS accounts and their charges coming to you, and you can also put some policies there as well. So this is AWS organizations that we're talking about. So screenshot number 6 would be AWS organizations. I'll just go back to this. Screenshot number 6 would be AWS organizations. Take a screenshot of your screen, not my screen. Take a screenshot of your screen. Okay, so AWS organizations. I'm going to take a sample screenshot here of my screen. You will take your screen and put it there. So screenshot 6, AWS organization. COMP3108, screenshot 6, AWS organization. Okay, so we hopefully took the screenshot of screen number 6 of AWS organization. If we go back, I'm going to go back to AWS services. Let's go back to AWS services, or like services here, and hopefully you're seeing under the recently visited IAM already. AWS organizations and IAM, you should be seeing that, but all others you did not visit. I visited there, so I see that, but you may not see all this, right? So recently visited, just click IAM now, or just type here search or go down to that category and IAM. So I'm going to click that IAM now. And once we go down here, so that's the service control policies. This is just, if I click that, this also talks about if you have an organization created, and again, this is for big companies where they have multiple AWS accounts and multiple billing is going on, maybe thousands of dollars per AWS account they're getting. So they want to put some policies there that what services are allowed to be used in those AWS accounts and what services are not allowed to be used in those AWS accounts, multiple AWS accounts. Obviously, this feature is also connected to service control policies, are also connected to if you have an organization created and then multiple separate independent AWS accounts are consolidated here or collected here, added here, and then centrally you're seeing their billing, and from here you can just put some policies to those. Obviously, organization has to be configured, multiple accounts have to be added for the policies to be seen and created there. So that is going to be not possible, but these policies are related to the AWS organization. We talked about that. And if I go ahead with this, it was policies, service control policies, AWS organizations, and then it goes for the whole documentation here, what exactly you can do. Tasks and entities not restricted by SCPs, but what does SCP really do? Service control policies are a type of organization policy that you can use to manage permissions in your organization. So if you create one organization, then you can create policies. SCPs offer central control over the maximum available permissions for all accounts in your organization. SCPs help you to ensure your accounts stay within your organization's access control guidelines. So they let you use some of the features in all AWS accounts, and they can restrict from here. You can restrict that these services cannot be used in all AWS accounts or some AWS accounts. Suppose AWS 1 account should not be using storage. AWS 3 account cannot use VPC or virtual private cloud or networking services. So you can just put all those restrictions with the help of SCP or service control policies. If you play with the words, controlling policies for controlling services, right? So that's what. And if I go ahead here, Control C, Control V. Okay, so well, yeah. Okay, so this is IAM, guys, and in identity and access management, we talked about groups, users, roles, policies, identity providers, concept, account settings, then access analyzer, credential report. I just downloaded the report and showed you. And organization activity in SCPs are if you have multiple AWS accounts that you want to consolidate and you want to manage them properly from one central location. That's for big companies. So okay, so clock is ticking, 2 minutes left, and Gideon has started the clock, and it's like 10, 9, 8, 7, and then it's like we have a takeoff, Houston. Okay, guys, so these are all the screenshots. Sign out from your AWS, put in your documents and upload it, and then see you in next on Thursday as well. And yeah, I have to just create that folder where you can upload for week 5. So I will try to do that now. It's not there for us to upload. Yeah, okay, exactly, that's where I'm going. So Blackboard, I'll just go there and create a folder right now, and you can just go ahead and upload there, right? Week 5, and see you on Thursday. Alright, thank you. So you guys are courses, yes, 49411, and series. Okay. Alright, thank you. Thank you. Okay, guys, don't forget to upload. Week 5 upload. Deadline tonight. you guys refresh and upload, and see you on Thursday.